Guys, this episode of Beyond the Fight is sponsored by our friends at CuriosityStream. CuriosityStream has thousands of streamable documentaries and nonfiction TV shows on topics like history, nature, science, food, technology, travel, and more. It's the smart TV for your smart TV. Featuring 35 collections of curated programs handpicked by our experts, you can stream to any device for viewing anytime, anywhere. I just finished watching Bucket List Australia. That is a wild country. With award-winning exclusives and originals, you are just a few clicks away from the best documentaries on the planet. Visit curiositystream.com. Use the promo code Chael Sonnen to sign up for just $14.99 for the entire year, or click on the link in the description below. Okay, Islam Makhachev came out, called out Tony Ferguson. Islam Makhachev, who I might add, is slowly each day becoming more interesting to me. And I have to use that word interesting because it's the one thing that Islam hasn't been. I know that sounds like an insult, but that isn't one thing that Islam's ever tried to be. Islam has succeeded at everything he's ever tried to be. He has tried to be successful. He's tried to be good at a sport. He succeeded. He is yet to try to be interesting. And now that he is trying to be interesting, at least for me, it's working. I'm finding him very slowly each and every day that he comes out with something new, a little bit more interesting. I don't know Islam. I've never met him. I'm going to give a message to him now. Islam, you called out Tony Ferguson. Tony and I are going to be announcing Tony's next fight soon. Thought we were going to do this a couple of weeks ago. We're going to be announcing Tony's next fight soon. I only bring that to you. Take your eye off Tony. He's got something else to do. But I did like the call out by Islam because this is what Islam has to do. Okay. Islam needs to begin to attach himself to these stars. And 155, I mean, you want to talk about headaches at 170? I apologize. Headaches in MMA, 170 takes the cake. Because, those guys just don't. I just learned a term, squat on your spot. Have you guys heard that? You have a spot, meaning a ranking, and then you squat. You do nothing with it. You squat on your spot. Apparently, that's like an industry term. I'm sharing it with you so that we can add that to the vernacular because I just learned it. 170, that's all they're doing. But boy, 155, it comes with its own set of problems. You have some absolute hammers at 55. By the way, Islam is one of them, and his mere record alone proves that. That's before you look closer just at the record. Don't look at the names. Don't look at the placement on the card. Just look at the record. Then you look a little closer and you start seeing, this guy's not losing rounds. And then you start to see, this guy's finishing fights. Right? Islam is one of these very impressive guys, but 55 has some stars. And if you are one of the top guys, but you can't break into the stars, you can't get one of those guys to fight you. Charles Oliveira is now in the conversation for absolute top, for title fights. For main of Charles Oliveira absolutely matters. Charles is not any better today than he was 3 months ago, but in those last 90 days, he got Tony Ferguson. He got a star. Which, by the way, I have to mention because I haven't heard anybody from Team Oliveira come out and thank Tony. Not for nothing, but where's the thank you? Are we the only one that sees the only thing's difference in Charlie Olive's life from then to today was that Tony gave him a chance? Not for nothing, right? But it's one of these things. Okay. Hold that thought. 155, when you talk about a collective mess, we don't have a champion, or do we? Am I wrong to say we don't have a champion? The champion says that he's not the champion, but we haven't taken the belt back. So I guess we do. I guess Khabib is the champion, or is he not? You tell it for me. I truly don't know. I think that the rankings still say that Khabib is the champion. I saw that Khabib was removed from the pound-for-pound list, but if he's the sitting champion of the world, you can't remove him from any kind of a pound-for-pound list. You can't remove him from anything. You cannot do both at the same time. You could not have Khabib as the sitting champion of the recognizably toughest division in the sport, not just in the organization. In all of MMA, 155 is king right now. We also, by the way, guys, have you ever thought about it in this perspective? We don't have a number one contender. We do not officially have a number one contender because what's he going to contend? Do you see the problem? We don't have a number one contenders match. And I was told a couple of weeks ago, and I was operating on the assumption that Poirier and Conor not only were going to fight in the trilogy, that trilogy was going to happen in May. Now, I read as early as this morning, and somewhere it appears that I missed something. Because as of this morning, it was said from Conor's team that they're working on a trilogy fight with Poirier, and they even threw something in there to be cutesy and said, yeah, Conor's actually going to train MMA this time. Hold that thought. Wait a minute. This isn't done? Conor and Poirier and May, that's not a thing? What happened in between? I definitely read that. You guys have read that. Now that's not a thing. We're thinking about doing it. Okay, fine. Typical fight negotiations, but you see my argument that I'm attempting to make, which is just what the mess we have at 155. We don't have a champion, or do we? We definitely don't have a number one contender because there's nobody to contend with because we don't know if we have a champion, or do we? And now we can't even have a number one contenders fight. Now, I think that Poirier versus Conor serves every one of those problems. I think you throw the belt up there. That's what I think. Other boys in the back are having a tremendous problem with that. Now, they're not having a problem with Poirier and or Conor. Okay, they're having a problem with the belt issue as it would selfishly pertain to them, which they have the right to do. It's a competitive sport. You have the right at all times to do what selfishly serves you. Absolutely you do. I would just argue that that's a short-sighted thought. And whoever in the hell gets that belt, as long as we get on with the belt, is a lot better news for the boys who are looking to contend than it is to have a belt that it's vacated, it's not vacated, Khabib's got it, Khabib doesn't have it, right? I mean, it's one of these things. Do you know the answer to that question? I'm not trying to be cutesy right now. Is Khabib the champion? That official answer is yes. But I'm not sure within the sport. I'm not sure this is like the nuclear codes where both sides, where you have to, two leaders have to turn a key. I think if one guy does the breakup, it counts for the whole thing. But apparently I am wrong. I've never been confronted with this. I could not give you another example where I've seen this. So, okay, fine. We don't know if we have a champion. We definitely know we don't have a number one contender. And we also have to recognize we don't have a number one contender's bout. By the way, three of the guys that we really want to see the most in the entire sport, Chandler, who burst onto the, golly, did he burst on the scene. What a debut, Michael Chandler. Jiminy Christmas. Dreams are made of what Michael Chandler did. Then you've got Charles Oliveira, of course, very high demand. And then you got the man himself, Justin Gaethje. Everybody wants to see Justin fight. And it kind of looks like the two of those guys are going to have to figure it out. And I haven't even mentioned some of the bigger stars. You didn't ever hear me say Paul Felder's name yet. You haven't heard me mention Dan Hooker's name yet. Where is Ally Aquita? I don't know. One of my favorite guys to watch fight. By the way, Kevin Lee's back. When Kevin Lee comes back, he's going to steal the attention from everybody just because he knows how to do that. I mean, 155 is so awesome right now if. And I don't know how to solve the problem. Like, even just theoretically speaking, you throw out an idea. You don't actually have to go do the nuts and bolts of it. Just be the idea. I mean, I would love to see Chael Sonnen, a Grand Prix, a tournament. I don't know why we started calling tournaments Grand Prix. I don't know what Grand Prix means. I guess it means tournament. But at any rate, I'd like to see a tournament, but that tournament would come with some very select things, some very, very select things. One thing that the PFL does that the PFL has yet to be credited for is when they set a tournament, okay, and here's the key. If we're going to do, let's just say we're going to do a lightweight tournament. We're going to take all the killers I just said. Islam's going to get his chance fair and square, but we're going to put the rest of them in there too. 1 through 8, it's the dates. And that's what the PFL has done such a good job with. When they set a tournament, they will tell you when the quarterfinal is, but they will tell you when the semifinal is. And you can read the straight line bracket to whoever advances to who, but here's when we're going to do it. And whoever advances, here's when we're going to hold the championship match. Period. PFL has had very good luck that everybody shows up, but just imagine somebody did it. You have a skunk at the garden party? Great. We bring somebody back in. Real simple. survivor clause. Whoever can move on or wants to, but we're going to figure this out, and here's how we're going to do it. There's going to be no more arguing and no more bickering and no more hearing about you guys from your social media. No more hearing about what you're ranked and somebody else's is ranked, and your manager told you, your neighbor's friend's brother's bus driver's kid told you, and therefore, no, excuse me. Straight line bracket, stand on your own, fall on your own, but here's the dates. And it's one of these things that I would just like as a fan, because I find it mind-numbingly painful. The generosity of Dana White has gone too far. It has to stop. Dana will go build two. I have a feeling here's exactly what's happening with Conor and Poirier. That Dana built two guys, incentivized this, did something beautiful, put them on a goddamn island, and then they turned the gun on him. That's what I have a feeling why we're not getting part 3. It seems like that'd be pretty simple to solve part 3. I mean, we would have a pretty good idea of numbers, wouldn't we? Should we do a mean between 1 and 2? Or should we just go the highest of 1 and 2? Oh, you think you should get a raise after 2 to go to number 3? I mean, you see where it gets to be mind-numbingly painful? And that generosity has been getting taken advantage of time and time again. And now it appears to be slowing things, which is directly going to affect Dana. The last guy who deserves to be effective, because it's his generosity that put us in the spot in the first place. I think that's what's happening. That's going to really get my blood temperature up. Because if we're talking about competitors and we're talking about trying to figure this thing out for the right guy, and there's some really good arguments in there. And as the masses, we all say very collectively, Poirier. Now, who you want to put Dustin with, we're open to. Is that going to be Khabib? Is it going to be Conor? Do you want to have a match? I think Poirier even suggested put Oliveira and Chandler together. Or maybe I think that's exactly what he said. Or maybe it was put Chandler and Gaethje together. Love both ideas. Who gives a damn? Okay. But we got to be able to move on with this. We can't just do this in one-offs. And this whole thing is set up right now for one-offs. That's what it's turned into. But that comes back to the generosity standpoint, because the contract is very clear. The contract does set out, aside from the date, but it sets out what match 1, 2, and 3 are going to look like. So there's nothing to talk about, but the guys keep on wanting to talk about talking, and somebody's picking up the phone over there. There is nothing to talk about. Screenshot, contract, where are we at? Match 1, match, we're on match 3, great, circle, here's what it is. Now we got to find the date. And it seems as though, I'm speaking out of school, I don't have this as evidence, but I'm looking at an amazing division of which I am highly interested in, and I'm going as far as to compliment is to tell you, it's the toughest division. Full of stars, jam-packed, and rising stars. Every problem you would want to have, it has. These guys could go over and be king, but they don't see that. They don't realize we can drive our division together as partners. We can all hate one another. We can all want to fight one another. We can all be competitive as a partnership. And if they would all move on, 155 could take over. And that's a real thing. You guys will remember in the history of boxing, it was heavyweight, but the end. And I know you like to make believe that your name had to be Frazier, or your name had to be Foreman, or your name had to be Ali, or your name had to be Tyson. You were wrong. You were wrong. You just had to be the heavyweight, and you had to be the star. You had to be the top of the bill. You had to be the main event. You had to be fighting for titles. You just had to be heavyweight. We had this in this sport for a period of time at light heavyweight. John Jones ruined it, but in fairness, he ruined it because he was so damn good. He just cleaned out the division. There was just nobody else to compete with. He Roy Jones'd the division. 155 can have that same thing. There was a time when if you were under 205 pounds, you weren't going to make any money in sport. Combat sport, period. Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd Mayweather together changed that. They opened the door. Whether Shane Mosley wants to recognize it or even the great Bernard Hopkins wants to recognize it. They are the ones who opened the door. Manny Pacquiao probably doesn't even want to have to admit. Oscar De La Hoya and Floyd Mayweather opened the door for that weight class. They set the table that Canelo and Triple G now eat from. Canelo and Triple G are not going to want to recognize that. Look, they're great. They're competitors. I'm sharing with you that's what happened. You could be as great as you wanted to had De La Hoya and Floyd not come along and made this the focused division. So then De La Hoya and Floyd can remove themselves, but whoever's here, it's the focused division. And 155 has that ability right now, competitively, ornery, fighting-wise, hating together. They could be partners right now and boost an entire division. They all want to talk about their legacy. How about having a legacy like that of De La Hoya and Floyd that set the table for the rest of sport as long as you weigh what we weigh? I mean, do you understand that? That might sound like a small plight, but De La Hoya and Floyd had to work as hard as everybody else. They just couldn't get recognized. The sport just was not there. If you were not a heavyweight, it just simply did not matter. Now, Roy Jones started to bring attention to a little bit lighter guy. You could go back to the 80s with the True Four Horsemen, greatest era of boxing. Sugar Ray, Roberto Duran, Marvin Hagler, Tommy Hearns. Aside from that, it was the heavyweights. I'm bringing this to you because the opportunity that 55 has right now and the opportunity that 55 has to be remembered forever, future 55, that doesn't matter to you. That doesn't matter to you how you leave your own division. For some guys, maybe it doesn't, but these guys are not seeing it right now. And they're going to sit out and they're going to Islam Makhachev is going to pass you all up. By the way, he's not interesting. He's starting to be interesting. He's not interesting. Why is he? He's out there doing something. Oh, by the way, he wants to compete. That right there separates him from all of the rest of you. I happen to think that Chandler is in that same group. Chandler's not doing a great job of speaking up about that. When I talk to Chandler, I feel compelled to bring to you guys. I'm pretty sure Chandler just wants to get in there and compete too. I don't know where Gaethje's been. Gaethje's been very silent. One of the fiercest competitors we've ever seen. He's been oddly quiet. Oliveira spoke up, but he's had ridiculous demands. The Makhachevs and the Kevin Lees just want to... Look, they're going to pass you. I'm sharing this with you, and if you all work together in some capacity, you could bring a tremendous honor for years to come, for an era to come, to your own division.